Good afternoon, readers. It's Tilly here from Tilly's Shelf, and I'm back with another tag for Tag Tuesday. I think this is the third week in a row where I've managed to do a tag on Tag Tuesday. So we're doing well. 2021 is going well in terms of tag production, which is, of course, the topic of today's tag. So this is what I would like to call the tag, because I think it sounds cool. But Roz, who created the tag from Scally-Dandy About the Books, has decided to call it the Tag About Tags, which sounds much more mature and measured. So if you don't know by now, Roz is my mother, so yeah, a little bit of family referentialness is going to come into this video, as into many of my videos, to be honest. So yeah, Roz's tag is as it says on the tin. It's a tag about tags, so let's get into the questions. So, question number 1 is tag firsts. Did you do the Booktube Newbie Tag? What was your first tag? If not, and do you watch Newbie Tags? So yes, it was my first tag. It wasn't the first video that I made, but it was the first tag that I put out. And watching it now, like, I would say that I have wasted a lot of time this morning rewatching old tags. That is definitely the most awkward and uncomfortable one to rewatch. And it's difficult because it's also like the first video that you get when you click onto my channel, because it's the main video that covers a summary of the different books that I like, I think. So it is my most watched video, so I think one of the things I'm going to try and fit in this year is creating a new channel introduction video, because I don't think it meets very well what my channel does anymore, if that makes sense. I think it was great. It was a great way to start out. It was a wonderful way to get welcomed into the community, because there were a lot of people who do, next part of the question, do go and watch a lot of newbie tags, and specifically for the purpose of just saying welcome to Booktube, and that made me feel like cozy and welcomed, and it was really nice. So if you're just starting out, I would definitely say start with the newbie tag. Do I watch newbie tags? Sometimes. I have done in the past. So previously what I used to do when I recorded tags was, I'm tapping my wedding ring against my cup of tea. Sorry for that, like, little bell noise. What I used to do when I did tags would be I would watch the Booktube Newbie videos for a couple of people who had filmed their Booktube Newbie video that day, and then I would tag them in my video and then let them know in the comments that I tagged them for that video. And I thought that was a nice way of kind of welcoming people into the community and getting them involved in tags and tagging, because that was something that I really wanted as a newbie, as I wanted to be tagged, and we'll get onto that in the next question. But I've got to be honest, as time has gone on, I have become a lazier and lazier booktuber, which, you know, like, it's had a noticeable effect on like how my channel does, I think, as well. So like, it's something that I'm aware it's not ideal, but it's just the balance that I enjoy what I do rather than doing too much for myself, which again I'm going to mention later on, I think. Rather than doing that, I tend to not tag people now. It's a shame, because I really enjoyed it and I thought it was a nice thing to do, and I found some channels that I really liked from that, and I can't remember her name, but The Return Cart, it's a brilliant channel that I found specifically through searching newbie tags and tagging her. I think I tagged her to do the My Neck of the Woods tag, perhaps. So yeah, other than that, I might watch a newbie video if somebody has shouted out that channel, or if like mine is, if it's the top video on the homepage of a channel that I'm just going to check out, if that makes sense. So question number 2 is tag emotions. What feelings do tags provoke in you? Is it tag joy and delight, tag boredom and resentment, or tag guilt and anxiety, or even tag envy? So I have had a progression of tag emotions over my time on Booktube. When I was first watching tags, before I had my Booktube channel, it was pure tag delight. I loved them. I thought they were great. I still do think they're great. And I would watch them and I would think of my own answers, and I would be like, yes, I want to get onto Booktube, I want to get tagged for stuff, and I want to make loads of tags. Because they're really fun. Then when I was a newbie booktuber, like I said, I basically had quite a lot of tag envy, or even I would say tag neediness, that I would really, really want to be tagged in tags. But because I was a new channel and people didn't really know me and I hadn't really done many tags and stuff, like, I didn't get tagged in anything, and I was sad about that, which was one of the reasons that when I did get tagged in things, I decided to pass that on to newbie booktubers, if that makes sense. And yeah, I was probably more emotionally invested in the start of my Booktube channel than I kind of realised retrospectively. Like, I thought I was just doing it lightheartedly, but I remember being actually quite upset when people that I would watch their videos and comment on their videos and stuff, they were doing tags and I would just always not get tagged. And I kind of felt left out, which is weird because like I was enjoying the rest of the channel and stuff. But yeah, it did feel, it felt sad. And I think that's entirely to do with my channel. Like, I'm not saying, oh, all the other booktubers were mean and they didn't tag me. I think it's also to do with like my approach to booktube, I think. Like a lot of people, I didn't really find my niche for a good few months. And at first I was watching a couple of more like, adult is the wrong, like general fiction, I suppose, general fiction and classics channels, but a lot of YA booktube channels, and I didn't really read much YA, and a lot of the time the tags that are popular in YA booktube are very referential of books that are very popular in YA booktube, if that makes sense. So they will talk a lot about specific characters from specific series that I hadn't necessarily read and didn't particularly want to read, so I just didn't have anything to say that was relevant to those tags, or that when I did do some tags from, like, I didn't really have the in-crowd references and things to make that work. I'm rambling on this one. And then I started getting tagged. So I went straight back to Tag Delight, and I was really happy to have like 2 or 3 tags and was so excited that like, people know me well enough to tag me for things. Like, it was great. But that progressed almost immediately to tag guilt because at the beginning, like, I've got better with it now because I don't edit and my videos are basically much worse quality, but I wanted every video I made to be like at a certain standard, and I think because I tried so hard, they were often actually worse for the excessive trying. But people would tag me in something, or it happened a couple of times that I would be tagged, and then I would record and re-record, and like, because I didn't think that it was up to a good standard, I would never actually do my version of the tag, and then that would be really sad because I would feel guilty that I hadn't responded to the tag. I would miss the kind of window of opportunity because tags are often really like time focused, I think. Like, people are doing a certain tag at a certain time, and I think that's a really important part of the tagging system. So yeah, I went straight basically from Tag Delight to the lows of tag guilt and tag anxiety, and just began to feel like I was letting people down by not doing the tags that they'd tagged me in. So on the back of that, I basically stopped doing tags for quite a long time and would sadly pretty much ignore when people tag me because I just felt so guilty. And it's one of those, like, I was like, it's only booktube. It's okay. It's not the end of the world. It's easier if I just forget about this and don't get emotionally wound up about it. And then we have evolved further into, I would say, like the last couple of months, I'm more at like tag neutrality, where I can enjoy doing a tag when I do the tag, but I'm not looking out for people to tag me. I'm not tagging other people, so I don't feel like there's this sense of obligation. Like, I'm always saying, like, I'm doing this tag because I want to do it, rather than because, like, I have been tagged in this one because Ross tagged me. But for instance, like the spoiler tag, nobody tagged me in that one, but I thought it was interesting, so I did it. So yeah, tag detachment, I suppose, and just like generally trying to get rid of the emotional burden that for some reason I associated with tags earlier in my booktube time. Okay, let's move on to question number 3, and this is tag favourites. What kinds of tags do you most and least like to do and watch? So the easiest tags to do are the ones that are just pulling books off the shelves and like naming basically 10 characters that match up with 10 prompts and that kind of thing. But they are generally like the least rewarding and the least lasting, I suppose. It reminds me of a game that we have called Dixit, where basically you have picture cards that have got like generic interesting pictures on them, and you have to you have to say like a prompt that is vague enough to fit a lot of the pictures, but specific enough to give some kind of a clue that people have to respond to, and then you mix up all the picture cards and people have to guess which picture card caused the prompt. And that's the kind of like the really simple tag where you ask a question and then you have to just pick anything from any part of literature to match up to the answer. They're nice, they're fun, but they're not very deep, and they're not supposed to be very deep. I think the best tags are the ones that really draw out opinions or anecdotes. Like, I love a tag that gets people talking about, like, this time that they got this specific edition of this book, or you know, this was a present from somebody, or something like that, that you get like a little bit of personal detail from. For instance, I recently did the last 10 books tag that I forgot to look up, but I think it was Mark Nash originally created that, and it's had a little resurgence recently. And that really works for getting people to talk about like anecdotes and personal experiences and stuff. Or I particularly like tags that are linked to Booktube events. So if there's a read along, like I'm not really doing many of them this year, but if there's a read along that I'm interested in, then I would quite likely watch the tags linked to that. And that is a really good way of finding people who are also into that topic. One good example of that would be the Booktube Newbie Tag that was created by Strip Cover Lit quite a long time ago now. It's not a channel that I really watch anymore, but having that Booktube Newbie Tag, like loads of people did these videos about poetry that I'd never heard of the channel, so it was a really nice way of finding other booktubers who are interested in poetry. And also tags that make you talk about favourites, because I hate talking about favourites, but actually they make for really enjoyable videos sometimes, and just like having that little bit of debate can be interesting. Also ones like I mentioned, the spoiler tag by Gunpowder Fiction and Plot, Scott and Nell, where it makes you think and it makes you debate a little bit, and you can have like a little community debate based on those questions as well. Question number 4 is, what is your tag style? How do you tag? Do you have a system for keeping track of tags to do? Like, do you prepare or do you just wing it? I would say, like I said, originally I used to prepare very heavily. Now I do like the most basic preparation. So I might do a list of names of books on the back of an envelope. I've got like yesterday's to-do list, and then on the back of that I've got some ideas for answers to these questions. I did prepare for quite a long time for this one just because I was rewatching a load of old tags. I used to watch a lot of versions of the tag, like not all of the ones that existed, but really like 5, 6, 7 different versions before I would do my own. Now I would only watch like 1 or 2 unless it's one that I'm particularly interested in, before making my own version. My guilty secret would be that I don't necessarily, this is really bad, I don't necessarily watch the original version of the tag, particularly if it's quite an old one, or if it's difficult to find, or if I've seen like a really good version that I feel like summarizes the tag. Then if it's a question of I watch that version, then I can just record my tag and I can do it like today, now, no preparation, no worries, rather than I've seen that version, then I need to go back and watch the original version, then I need to like it just complicates the process, and it makes me more likely to just not do it. And yeah, that's an issue that I have, just not doing things. Yeah, it also depends a lot on what the tag is. So for instance, earlier this year, no, it was last year now. Last year I did the Deathbed tag that was created by Jason at Old Blues Chapter and Verse. And is he still called Old Blues? Is it just Chapter and Verse now? I don't know. And that talks about books and other works of art that you would like to experience in your dying days. And I felt like that was a really important concept, that it would be unjust to do it as an unprepared tag. So I put a lot of time and thought into preparing for that. And the final tag is, nearly an hour of me talking about death and dying. I will link it below because I think it's one of the videos that to me is most meaningful on my whole channel. I would say it's one that it's probably most worth watching, even though it's longer. So I'll link it below because it was one that I did prepare for and I did think about for several months before doing it. Yeah, I think that's basically it. I like tags that I don't have to prepare for too much. They're the ones that I'm most likely to do. Then final question, apart from tag people, which I've already said I don't really do that at the moment, is tag memories. So this is any tags that you've watched or done or created that stand out in your memory. I have never created a tag. I have had ideas for creating tags, normally linked to specific events. Like I had a Shakespeare related tag that I wanted to do for ShakeTube one year, but I didn't do it. And I have an idea for a Jane Austen theme tag. But yeah, I haven't created any tags, but I have done in total 22 tags in my 2 years on Booktube, which is actually a reasonable number for saying that I feel like I'm not a person who does a lot of tags. my absolute best tag memory. So Roz, when she did this, she said that her first tag was the Booktube Newbie Tag, and I have commented to say that she's a liar because she did a tag with me before she even had a Booktube channel, but she tried to pretend that it has to be the first tag that's on your own channel, but just ignore that. The first tag, the most memorable tag for me is the Jane Austen July tag that I did with Roz before she was Roz from Scally Dandling About the Books, and we were away together in Calais. We were doing some voluntary work together. We were sitting on a hotel bed, and we just had a really lovely half-hour long discussion about Jane Austen, and I watched it again this morning, and it was just heartwarming and enjoyable, and it just an opportunity for us to sit together and talk about some of our favourite books that we really share. It was lovely, and it also linked into just the enjoyment of Jane Austen July every year, which is great. Yeah, so that one was a really memorable one for me. Another one that sticks out for me is the Booktube Top 10 tag that was, again, created up by Jason. The Jane Austen July tag, I should say, was Katie at Books and Things and Melissa Blatantly Bookish. Marissa? Oh God, blank mind moment. Either Melissa or Marissa. Goodness. So the Booktube Top 10 tag, name your top 10 books. I found it so difficult, but I ended up doing like acting out a conversation that I had via Messenger with my mum and my brother. But at the end of the conversation, my brother just said, record this conversation. So I did. And that was really fun to do. And I liked it as a way of tackling that question. And then another really memorable tag that I think is one that I would recommend to anyone is the My Neck of the Woods tag that was created by Kelly at Books I'm Not Reading, where she just gets you to talk about books from the area where you're from. And I did the area where I grew up, but I'm considering doing it again to do books from the area where I live now. Just because it's, again, like what I was saying about books, tags that bring out personal information as well as favourite books. And it is so personal and so, so nice to hear about where people come from, because some booktubers come from like all sorts of places around the world. It's great. But looking back at those other 22 tags, like the rest of the 22 tags, a lot of them are fairly average and a lot of them really don't stand the test of time. And I think that's going back to like the how do you tag question. To me, it's really important to do a tag soon, because I love it when there's loads of versions of the same tag going around and that handle it differently, rather than, I know some people schedule their tags, and if they've been tagged in a lot of things, they'll be planning one for each week. I think it's more fun to do them spontaneously than like 3 months later see a tag that was created a while ago that people have kind of forgotten what other people said about it. Like, I would rather have the fresh tags, but obviously, you know, everyone does things their own way, and that's equally fine, but just to me, I like the freshness and the responsiveness, because some of these tags, they simply don't endure. And for me, tags are videos that they tend to get more views when they're originally posted, but they don't like stand the test of time, whereas review videos get next to no views when they're posted. But most of my most watched videos over time are reviews that have just gradually accrued more and more views, if that makes sense. So tags are very like time limited. Anyway, that was a little bit of a rambly response. Thank you very much to Roz for creating the tag. Thank you for watching, and let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And yeah, like I said, I'm not tagging anyone because I don't feel like morally I can tag people when I don't do tags that I'm tagged in. But yeah, go ahead if you think that you have things to say about the tag.